Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, this is Kenyan Revolutionary for a really brief uh, observation on what's happening around the world. But I will concentrate on Kenya because Kenya is what my political, observation is based on. This is a Kenyan political channel. But like as usually say, we talk about world politics as it relates to Kenya. So I just want to say, uh, Ongera, Viva, the youth of Nepal. As you can see, the topic today is the Kenyan Gen Z learn from Nepal or Nepal. Is that how they call it? I call it Nepal. So bear with me. So, and Kenyan politicians be warned. I think you should learn from what's going on in Nepal. I don't know if you guys have seen these footages in Nepal. It's crazy. The parliament, the youth in Nepal went and they burned down the parliament. They caught the minister of finance and stripped him almost naked. I mean, basically naked, and they forced him down to the river, punching him, kicking him. The foreign minister's wife, was found in his house, on her house. Apparently, she lost her life thereafter, after she was roughed up and died of the smoke because the youth, the Gen Zs, burned down the house. The coward who was the foreign minister actually escaped. So these are the examples of what is happening in Nepal as we speak right now. And the most interesting thing is this: the military of Nepal were actually defending the Gen Zs, the protesters, from the police. Okay, they were defending the protesters from being attacked by the police. Of course, there are also some instances where these same military personnel were evacuating these corrupt politicians, parliamentarians. Okay, they were evacuated from their houses because they were being targeted. These Gen Zs were going after their houses. If they know that you live somewhere or they know you have a business somewhere, they were heading there and burning it down. So these Gen Zs from Nepal are something else. They are a different breed, I'm telling you. But they kind of learned from the Kenyan Gen Zs, okay? We started our movement before them, okay? But they're showing you how it's done. Now, very key points that I want to mention before I go on. But before I get started, ladies and gentlemen, we have to get through the pleasantries. My name is Kenyan Revolution. I talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as related to Kenya. So if you like that kind of content, please do not hesitate. Like, share, subscribe, do all the good stuff. I'm your political dietitian. I'll give you the nutrients that you need in order for you to navigate through the Kenyan politics and world politics. Kind of, expand your view, your perception of how the world works and how politics is, digested in your mainstream so that it can help you see the world in a better, make it, you know, hopefully inspires you to make the world a better place. So subscribe to my channel. My name is Kenyan Revolutionary. And if you're already subscribed, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you know the first order of business, hit the like button, okay? But today, like I said, I won't stay here for long. I just want to draw some parallels between the Nepal Gen Z movement and the Kenyan Gen Z movement that happened last year in June 25th. Remember, we started our first, we went to the streets before they did, okay? Theirs is successful, ours was not quite successful, but we were almost there. We kind of got some stuff accomplished, but we didn't go all the way. And now the state has done everything to actually not only diffuse but pacify the Gen Z movement through infiltration and the four levels of um, deceit, or the four levels of what do you call it? Yeah, I'll call it deceit. Okay, the way they've used the so-called youth who seems to be speaking our language, advocating for the same things that we are doing, but in real sense, they are not for us. They're working for the political class. I mentioned that on my video yesterday. If you want to go check it out, go check it out. Like I say, today I'll be very brief. I just want to draw some parallels that I see between the Nepal movement right now and what could happen still in Kenya. Now, granted that the states, the political elites in Kenya have really, really successfully kind of diffused, they've kind of managed to pacify the Gen Z movement. Gen Zs and the oneness and the discussion surrounding the conditions that should be conducive for a popular protest revolution like the one we are seeing in Nepal, witnessing in Nepal. The Kenyan state has managed to actually, get their grip on the Gen Z movement. They are kind of controlling the narrative, and if they can't control the narrative, they do the division, divide and conquer rule. I'll explain to you just briefly. I talked to it in the last video, but I'll just do it for the sake of refreshing your minds. In case you didn't watch my video, the previous video, I'll just give you very, very quick reasons why. I explain how, there's a lot of infiltration, and it's done in different levels. For those young politicians that are already within the political system, the Sifunas, the Babu Owinos, the Wamuchombas, those who are being viewed as renegades, who are speaking our language, they're being paraded now as the next folks who are going to take over from this political class, this aging legacy politicians, as we call them, okay? That's what we are being meant. They're trying to convince us that these renegades are the ones who are now ripe, ready to take over and continue, bring change. But in real sense, these guys are not for real change. They're cut from the same cloth as Raila Odinga, Ruto, Uhuru, Gachagua, Karua. They're the same, okay? But they're trying to convince us. Now, they know that is not enough. So they're using the infiltrators, okay? The young folks who seem to be Gen Zs, speaking our language, talking all that good talk, the Hanifas of this world, the Boniface Mwangi of this world, the Casmuels of this world. At least Casmuel has come out and now is in ODM, so we know what it's all about. But, they were Fula Shakur, whatever, Kop Shakur, whatever the case is. These are the people that are being used, to infiltrate the movement. They're pretending, yeah, Ruto must go. But like I told you, if you want to identify anyone who is supporting the regime and the current status quo in Kenya, they will tell you, wait till 2027. Ruto is one term. Ruto is going in 2027. The same thing. They're really exacerbating the situation, the political temperatures, okay? Highlighting our differences in ethnic groupings, using Gachagua as the, main antagonist, okay? The protagonist in this script, Gachagua, really pushing this narrative that Mount Kenya are under siege, they're under attack. The whole point is to actually use Gachagua to lure the Gen Zs from Mount Kenya from actually joining with other Gen Zs from other sectors. Then you have the ODM wing who are now using this Luo ethnic group, saying that, oh, nyinyi vijana, you've died for many years, supporting ODM. Now it is our time to enjoy the fruits of your, maandamano. Whether the dead, for those of them who are died, they put Odhiambo there and Makau Mutua to compensate them. Of course, the court say that it's unconstitutional, that panel, whatever of compensation, whatever the case, panel of experts. You understand that? So the ODM side are using the Luos, as we understand the historical ethno-political difference between the Kikuyus and Luos. So ODM are really using that Luo thing that, oh yeah, we've been ostracized, we've been marginalized historically since 1963 since Kenyatta and Oginga Odinga fell out with Kenyatta with Nani Jomo. So finally, Raila Odinga is part of government. Now it's time for us to eat. It's time for us to enjoy the fruits of Serikal. Okay, so do not join those Gen Zs from Mount Kenya because they care about themselves. You just concentrate on, development. Support Ruto, mtapewa wheelbarrows, analeta development. He dances with Wanga every weekend, thinking that translates into, economic development in Luo Nyanza. But in real sense, the whole point of this is to actually make sure that the youths of this country, Kenya, do not come together. The Luos, the Luhyas, the Kikuyus, the Kambas, they don't want them to come together like they did in 2027. 2020. June 2024, okay? They don't want them to come together. So that's why they're using all these layers, the opposition, the opposition, and they're making it as tribal as they can, using crude language to make sure that it really pierces through and, touch on your personal bias, okay? Touch the identifier, the ethnic nature, that God gave you. They're trying to make you that you're different from the others because you come from Mount Kenya, you come from Lake Victoria, you come from the Western Province, you come from the coast. They don't want you to identify with other Gen Zs from other parts of the country because they don't want you guys to come together and rally around an idea or rally around the fight or the advocacy for justice in Kenya. They don't want that. So they have to use the united opposition, using their useless idiots like Martha Karua, Matiang'i, the Gachagua, of course, okay? And now today, Gachagua came up and announced that, his party will not be vying or whatever the case in some the by-elections. Of course, this is a news that is meant to take people's minds off what's happening in Nepal, because the Gen Zs on the virtual world, whether it's in the meta space, in the internet, are talking about, hey, listen, we can do this again. We are watching what's happening in Nepal, and we started it before even them. We can do it again. There's that feeling. We can go back and reintroduce ourselves to these political con men and women who are actually ruling Kenya. So what I want to say, but let me just get back to what I was about to say. The things that I want to, the parallels that I want to draw, the commonalities, the similarities that I actually immediately picked up when I was watching what is happening in Nepal is this. Number one, the police brutality against the protesters. Now, I want you to think about this. The protest in Nepal is being driven by 3% of the population. I'll let that sink in. I want you to think about that. 3% of the population of Nepal are the ones who are actually revolutionizing the system right now. It's in the process. The revolution is fully underway. We cannot even argue about that. 3% of the population, okay? So when you hear Ruto or Gachagua, all these idiots, Raila, Martha Karua talking about, it's unconstitutional to go to the streets and protest and ask to overhaul the system, tell them to read Article 1 again. And by the way, you don't need 90% of the population to go to the streets in order for you to have a successful popular revolution. And Nepal is a good example. I'm not even using Bangladesh or the other. It's similar, but I just want to, like I say, I'm drawing parallels, similarities. Let's just draw why we need a revolution, okay? And I hear a lot of people that really tagging Mbadi because the finance minister that was being brutalized by the protesters, by the revolutionaries in the streets, okay, who is being humiliated in public, people are tagging Mbadi. What is Mbadi doing? Mbadi is busy in Australia, okay? He is attending his daughter's graduation in some plum university in Australia, okay? He doesn't care, okay? But people were tagging him, telling him, hey, now the finance minister is being... The Gen Z are found, this Nepal thing is not good news for Kenya. I mean, for the Kenyan oligarchs, okay? It's not. This is a threat. In fact, they should shut down the internet. But I'm getting beside myself because I want to make this video so short, but I have so much to say, but I'm limited with time. So I have to get to the point. Maramoja, Amaniaji, I have to say succinct and pithy in my comments. So let me get back to the point I was making. The similarities and the parallels that we can draw from Nepal and the June 25th, 2024 Gen Z movement in Kenya. Now, like I said, what did I say the first one was? I forgot because I'm out of my mind. Okay, I mentioned that 3% of the population, only 3% of the population is required to actually overthrow a government. It's happening in Nepal. 3% of the Kenyan population, okay? Vijana wakikusanyika Nairobi. That's why they were so invested in Nairobi, sending goons, police to thwart that possible protest in Nairobi, because Nairobi is the epicenter of Kenyan politics. If Nairobi falls, it's a domino effect. Kila pahali pia inaanguka, okay? So if we are able, we, the Kenyan Gen Zs, if the people of Kenya, if we invade the State House to Ichome and the parliament to Ichome, I'm telling you, it's over for Ruto. He's out. He's out. Aezi kwenda kujificha Sugoi alafu arudi ati, hey, mshachoma State House, I'm coming back. No. It will be over. That's why they were investing a lot of intel, goons, police, and all that stuff to make sure that the people, the protesters, do not make it to State House. But let's get back to the point. Number one, the use of the army who protected the protesters from the police. The use of the army who protected the protesters from the police. Remember, the army were called by this prime minister or president, whatever the case is, to come and help out, protect them, protect these corrupt oligarchs, okay, of Nepal. But these guys went to the streets and were actually protecting the people. Do you remember on the 25th when the army were called and they actually started greeting the people? I keep on telling you, the army, when they come to the streets and there's a popular revolution, people are demanding for the politicians, the president, whoever they want out. At that point, when the people speak loudly as that, at that point, power is naturally shifted from these delegated power. Let me repeat that. This delegated power that has been delegated to these representatives, holders of public office, whether it's the president, whether it's the parliamentarians, whether it's the senators, whether it's the MCAs, whether it's the ward level women reps, power shifts at that point and goes back to the people, because at that point, what those people are doing are exercising their power, their sovereign will, directly. Oh, Shaba Sabala Sababa. So let me just talk to you today. Are you ready for me to talk to you? I want you to get what's happening. I'm going to keep it short because I have to keep it short. There's so much to talk about with this Nepal and Kenyan situation. It gets me excited. I'm catching an erection talking about it. I'm sorry, I'm being stupid. But anyway, let me get back to the topic. But anyway, I'm saying in the event where as little as 3% of the population is agitating for change, protesting, picketing, go to the city hall or whatever the case is, Uhuru Park or whatever the case, or State House, and demand that the president resign. And they stay steadfast. Wanasema hawarudi nyumbani mpaka Ruto ondoke. At that moment, the people, listen to me very carefully, the people have shifted power from these delegated officials, including the President Ruto and his whole cabinet, National Assembly, senators, governors, MCAs. Power has shifted to the people. So when the army is called by the president, because the president will be panicking, just like he panicked in June 25th. Remember that? The police were overwhelmed. What did he do? He called on the what? The army. When the army went to the streets, the army has to make a choice. And the army has to act within the constitution, because the ultimate boss, the ultimate sovereign are the people, not the president. The president is only the chief of the armed forces as long as he enjoys the majority of the will of the people who are sovereign, who have actually employed him to be in that position. Naelewa? So in the event that the people have decided to exercise their power directly by going to the streets and picketing and demanding that Ruto resigns, If Ruto calls on the army to come to the streets to bring peace, the army will be left with no choice but to ask Ruto to resign, because that is the will of the people. That's why the army always, always, always sides with the people, not with the regime of the day. And that's something similar because, like I said, regardless, don't forget about the blood, blood parliament documentary. I told you about the blood documentary. It was a hit piece, okay? It was supposed to program you to make you think that the army is against the people. I told you, it was a few people from the armed forces, handpicked by Ruto, who were committing atrocities against the Wananchi during those protests, okay? But the majority of the armed forces, actually, we had cases in Pipeline, that neighborhood in Pipeline, Nairobi, when the police were shooting people from the balcony, the army came and told the police to stand down and stop it. And they had to stop it, okay? So that is the one similarity. Now, number two is the police. I don't know if you watched the Nepal situation. The police started by brutalizing the young folks, the students, protesters, okay? The agitators. They started brutalizing them, shooting them, doing whatever. Kuna ingine hata kana video clip wengine walikuwa nawaambia vijana ati wekeni mkono juu, surrender. Then once the people surrendered, they started shooting those vijana. But what is the difference? These young folks never stopped. Even though they retreated for a minute, walienda, wakaenda wakakusanyika tena, wakasema tunarudi, hatujamaliza kazi, mpaka kazi ishi. Oh, I am getting excited when I talk about it. They went and brought their friends back, wakasema hata mkituua, lazima, the Nepal government has to fall. That's what the young people decided. So what did they do? Even though they were getting shot down, walienda wakaenda wakakusanyika, retreated for a minute, wakaenda wakarudi tena, wakasema hata mkituua mtuwe sote. Guess what? The police were so busy, they ran out of bullets, they were tired, they were exhausted, and lastly, they gave up. They surrendered. In fact, there's video clips of police in Nepal being paraded. Wale walikuwa naua watu, wamekuwa paraded. Wanaambiwa sasa mtajua ndio nini. Msimkuwa mnaua watu, wamekuja wakasurrender. Kwa sababu, how did they surrender? Because they were overwhelmed by the number of the sovereign people, brave young men and women of Nepal who went to the streets and said, we don't care about the bullets, we don't care about how many guns you are, you cannot kill all of us. Siri ni numbers. Siri ni numbers. I'm so excited about this. And we saw that in Mandamano on June 25th. We saw it. I'll remind you, because some of you have the memory of an aunt. When the Gen Zs were making their way to the parliament, there was heavy police in front of the parliamentary. There were snipers, kulikuwa na sijui nini, ayo mambo yote ilikuwa. Wakaanza kuwa watu. And there were people dying, by the way. We can't overlook that fact. There were people who were being shot and killed. But the brave young men and women who were in the streets that day said, Parliament paka tufike. And what happened? Police walikimbia. They ran. They literally ran away from the parliament. The next step, if you were to sustain that in your 20 State House, they would have given up like you. Unaona vile Nepal ilikuwa. Lakini wakina Hanifa na Boniface Mwangi, these infiltrators showed their faces. Hatujawasahau. Unaona? But anyway, let's get to the topic. What I'm trying to say is this. With sustained pressure of protest, watu hakuna kurudi home mpaka tufike mninio Ikulu. Na tukifika Ikulu tunachoma hiyo Ikulu yote from the ground up, or from up ground, from the roof to the ground. Na hata hiyo basement, hizo matanel ambayo Ruto amejenga, nasikia amejenga huko, tutaweka moto huko tuchome. Bedroom ya Shalin, bedroom ya Recho, yote tunachoma. All those ninio, all those sijui bizo mapicha za magazelle na hizo vitu of those sculptures, tunazichoma, banda bombo clatting down. You know, understand? We are burning down a Babylon, So what I'm saying is this. With sustained pressure in protest, the police cannot survive. And when they cannot survive, they will have to call the army. Now, wakileta majeshi, jeshi will take our side. We saw that. They were on our side last time. We saw that. Just like in Nepal. Aya. The third one. Ushawahi kuona Kimani Ichung'wah akikimbia? Ushawahi kuona Mbadi akikimbia? Unajua wanasiasa hata saa zingine wananifurahisha. Siku hizi wako na kiburi. Do you remember June 25th? Hao watu walikuwa wanapiga nduru wakikimbia, wengine wakichukuliwa na helicopter huko juu ya ninio parliamentary building, wengine wanajifanya wanaingia kwa ambulance wakipiga nduru. Murkomen, Oscar Sudi, Kibet, Tugul, Nyote, Raila Odinga, Conman, Agombo Serengenye, intergenerational conclave Konosoa. Mutakimbi hata hiyo siku amjaona Raila kikimbia. Hiyo siku hata Oburu, that day will be a real Gen Z. Hiyo kitambi taisha atuoli. Karua. Hata hiyo leso utatupa. Hiyo kitenge unavanga, hiyo unavanga wewe nani? Martha Karua. Hiyo siku utavaa kinyasa, kaptula. Uhuru. Kenyatta, Muigai. Hiyo siku hiyo kunona kwako itaisha. Matiang'i. Hiyo mashavu hiyo imefurafura hivi, imebeba mafuta ya World Bank na ile pesa uliiba siku za ninio. Itaisha ndugu yangu. Gachagua. Hata hiyo wantama hutaweza kusema, utakimbia ndugu yangu. Hata wewe usijifanya ati wantama. Wamnyoro. Wamnyoro utamea afro hiyo siku. Hiyo siku na inakuja. Inakuja, Wamnyoro inakuja. Kalonzo, niliona umeanza kuwa na kipara. Wamusyoka. Hata Kitui hutalala Kitui hiyo siku. Utalala Kitui. Utaenda South Africa hiyo siku. Kama umevaa chuti na umevaa chupi na briefcase kwa mkono. Ile maandamano inakuja Kenya. Wacha hii ya Nepal wewe. Mbadi. Mbadi, uliza mtoto wako akutafutia nyumba huko Australia. Mbadi. Siku hizi nasikia hata kizungu unakula ugali na fork kwa sababu wewe ni finance. Mbadi. Ngoja wewe. In fact, there's a ninio going on in the internet right now. Pick the politician that you would like to, unataka uachiwe, udeal nayo. There's, Gen Z wa Kenya lakini they're saying pick the politician ule ambao wanakusumbuanga akili sana, ule unataka wakuachie, whether it's the finance minister ama yoyote tu, yule anakuudhingi sana. Ile siku tutachukua kama Nepal, bas unachagua ile mtu unataka. Kama ni Mbadi, Pasaris wewe hatutasahau. Socialite Bimbo. Kila mtu atachagua. Murkomen, na hiyo mashati yako, hiyo shati unavaa, Aaron Cheriot. Unaona vile let me tell you, I'm telling you right now, wewe, Nurjin Haji wewe. Mkiangalia ile kitu na ile watu wanaongea saa hizi. People have been inspired by Nepal. Na tutacheza na nyinyi. Hatutacheza. Hiyo ukabila mnataka kuleta. I'm pretty sure. Let me tell you something. In fact, let me predict this. This is prediction. In fact, when I saw Gachagua today giving a speech, I knew the political class wamepigana simu wakasema hebu tuendelee, let's ramp up this political ethnic division ndio to distract our Gen Z, because they are being inspired by Nepal. So to rudi into factory settings. And what is factory settings? Siasa ya ukabila. So who is better to do that than Gachagua? Ndio maana Gachagua alienda akakuja akatoa hiyo announcement na hii leo akasema ati my people, ndio ikuwa topic. Because they know what is trending in Kenya today as we speak ni Nepal. Na Gen Z wameanza kuangalia, wanasema you know what? We started before this. Tulianza before hawa watu. Na hawa watu wanatupaintia a picture how this is done. Unajua hii Nepal imefungua watu macho sana. Na last week tuliona Indonesia. The previous week tuliona ninio. Mimi nakwambia hata Ruto akatoka ameenda Ethiopia kuangalia dam vile inajengwa huko kwa sababu alishikwa na wasiwasi. Usifikiri ni dam inampeleka huko. I'm telling you. Kila mtu atafute yule mwanasiasa na kudingi sana. Huyo ndio tadili na Ichungwa, Murkomen. Oscar Sudi, engineer. Sakaja, kaji. Tukikushika. Your money will not save you that day. Verily I tell you. Vile Yesu alikuwa anaambia watu, Yesu alikuwa ukitaka kusikia, soma Biblia. Listen, soma Biblia. Anywhere where you quote Jesus saying, verily I tell you. Ujue Yesu amejam. Ni kitu shwari kabisa. It's done, written in stone. Verily I tell you, my people. Ukisikia Yesu amesema verily I tell you, in that day it will be like running from a lion and meeting a bear mbele yako. Agomba firingenye. Konman sidindi. Chwar ida. Hiyo siku wewe. Hiyo siku Conclave haitakusaidia. Conclave haitakusaidia Raila Odinga. Conclave will not help you. Hiyo siku. Ruto utajaribu kutenga na hiyo kutenga. Unasijui nini? Nepal inakuja Kenya. Ulisikia yule kijana mmoja wasijua Nigeria ama wapi West Africa huko aliyasema akanena alitoa prophecy akasema Ruto, the people of Kenya will chase you out of Kenya. Na sio wewe peke yako. Nepal is the topic of Kenya among the Gen Zs. Gen Z nimewambia 3% of the population took out the regime ya Ninio. Ufaransa pia imeshika moto for different reason. Lakini tukae tu Nepal leo. Usiongee Ufaransa. Ufaransa tuongea kesho. Tukiingia mambo ya nani? Traore na mambo mengine. Mnasikia kitu nawaambia? So mimi nawaambia Gen Z of Kenya, musidanganywe na hizi mastori za sijui 1 term, 2 term, sijui tutatoa Ruto 2027, sijui nini, ati wa Munyoro, sijui 2 term, sijui Raila, Conclave. Musidanganywe. You have the same problems and you have the same enemy. Ni hawa wanasiasa. From the president, the executive branch of government, the whole legislative branch of government, na judiciary. Mliona huyo lawyer alichapa bunduki. Nasikia alikuwa alikuwa na advocate for something. Alikuwa amejua about what Chapukati did or whatever did not do. That's another story for another day. I'll leave that conspiracy theory for another day. I might talk about it tomorrow, maybe the other day. But mnasikia. The bottom line is this. Stop listening to this sijui Raila, Karua, Gachagua, Ruto, Murkomen, Wamalwa, sijui hawa watu wa Safina, hawa watu wasijua kina ninio. Okio Mtata, I know you like him. Wachana kusikia hawa watu. Because ukiwauliza, how will you change the system? Wanataka kuambia debt tumechukua sijui. We know that. Tushapita hiyo stage. Hiyo chapter tulifunga. We know about that. Hiyo chapter tutafungua tena saa zile tushachukua usukani. How do you get power as a people? Wacha kutuambia ati hii debt tutazidi kuilipa as long as Ruto or Gachagua or Raila or sijui ama mapepo chafu ambao wako kwa hii political class, as long as they are there at the helm, mtazidi kulipa hiyo deni na mtachukua mtazidi kuchukua deni zingine na mtazidi kuzilipia, because power is in the hands of these colonial stooges. So whether you tell us about how much money is being stolen or misappropriated or illegally acquired through the IMF and World Bank, it does not make any difference. Willy Sotieno nanisikia. You have good points, but where you fail at is where power lies. Because without power, you cannot execute your plan for the future. And you cannot get power if you have a structural problem in the system that you are operating under. Safina can say all these wonderful things and have wonderful manifestos. I mean, for crying out loud, Ruto had a wonderful manifesto. Did he follow through? No, he did not. So that means nothing. He's at the helm. He has all the levers of power. And he's doing whatever he wants. He has even Ninio. He's remotely controlling Ninio. The IBC, the governing body that will be overseeing the elections. Na bado mnazungumza mambo ya 2027. Nyinyi mko na akili kweli mzuri kweli? Mko na akili timamu? Aya, nasikia argument yenu mnasema ati, you see how Nepal is very bloody, watu wanauana, people wanachinjwa, there's lawlessness. Wacha niwaambie, once Ruto is declared the winner in 2027, mkingoja huko na tukifika huko, do you think it will not be bloody? Yeah? No, wacha nawaulize. Don't you think there'll be lawlessness and bloody in the streets will get bloody in 2027 mkiwacha Ruto aendelea adeclare president in 2027? I know how you're thinking. Ndio maana nawasaidia leo. I'm a political dietitian. Kuja upate nutrients, proteins that will help you. Political proteins. So that you can reason with logic. Wachana na watu kawa Kasmuel na koti yao za ujinga hapo na waambia ati ODM at useless people, NIS agents. Mbwa nyinyi. Are you serious about changing and getting power? Giving it to the people. Not power concentrating within a few colonial stooges. Na hii mchezo wao kujifanya ati Wamunyoro has done this leo, Wamunyoro amefanya hivi, alafu utamwona kesho ati ana 2 hour interview talking about Ruto every 2 seconds for 2 hours. Ruto is a tribalist, Ruto has been stealing, Ruto has been killing, tumechoka na kusikia, tumejua hizo zote. Don't tell us ninio. Ati Ruto is farming, sijui nini, and funding terrorism. Kwani hatujui? But mnacheza hii mchezo what town? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and comments, I will stop here. My name is Kenyan Revolutionary. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. Okay? Like this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, so the algorithm tupa ikitu uko ndio tuzidi kuongea. Ama namna gani? All right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace and blessings, and I will see you guys later. Ama namna gani? Peace and blessings.